Welcome to the Trend Detection Podcast, powered by Siemens. And now your host, Niall Sullivan.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Trend Detection Podcast. It's been a little while since we've done one of these episodes. For those who regularly listen, you'll know we do a regular Truth About Predictive Maintenance segment. But it's been a little bit a while since we've done one of these, Nat. So really great to have you back on. And we've got a really, again, it's, these episodes are always about topics that are a bit off the wall, probably ones you wouldn't listen to on similar podcasts as well. We try and go let's go a bit behind the scenes a little bit, in a bit more detail. And this one's an interesting one. It's about why predictive maintenance shouldn't be free. And I'm going to set up Nat to sort of take us into this conversation, first of all, about the context of this. But it's a really interesting topic, so definitely one to listen to and share as well with your community. But I'll hand over to Nat.
Yeah, thanks. Hi. If you haven't met me before, I'm Nat Ford. I am Head of Business Development for Senseye within Siemens for EMEA. So if you are a potential client within EMEA, you may or may not have heard from me. But anyway, nice to meet you all. The reason I like to do these sessions is because there's all sorts of stuff that we talk about a lot behind the scenes that really we should be having those conversations with clients and potential clients. Predictive maintenance is a big, relatively complicated topic, and a lot of the complexity comes from people's misinterpretations, or I probably shouldn't say that, the varied interpretations. And so conversation is useful. So I love having these sessions. And today's session is about, exactly why shouldn't predictive maintenance be free? And I think probably the first and foremost reason is because I'm a sales guy and it's my bread and butter to get money from clients for selling stuff. Selling is a weird profession. It's sort of looked down on it from many quarters. It depends how you describe yourself. I'm very proud of being a sales guy because I think that it's done correctly. It's a very honest profession. And if you think about it, everything out there has to be sold and has to be understood. So I consider my job to be one of explaining. So let's get back on topic. Today we're explaining why we shouldn't be providing predictive maintenance for free. And I'm going to take the liberty of slightly changing the title on the fly. I think it should be why predictive maintenance trials, POCs, POVs, tests, foot in the water shouldn't be free. I mean, patently, we shouldn't be doing it for free, full stop. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, that's more accurate, to be fair. So duly noted. Duly noted.
Good. Before we start, should we sort of agree on a couple of things, which are probably, what is this thing that we shouldn't be doing for free? And what angle are we talking about this from? And then we can throw a load of stuff at the wall. So just for the sake of any miscomprehension, when you're selling a predictive maintenance solution, it is effectively technology that we're providing, although what we're trying to affect is a series of behaviours. And a POC, a proof of concept, is where a client wants to test whether our technology works, whether the concept of our technology works. And a proof of value, which is a slightly more sensible thing to try and achieve, is a trial or a process or a test or a first wave or an initial deployment, whatever you want to call it, that attempts to measure the value of that service. And we can let's talk about those together and separately. And let's just think about the audience as well. So, we can talk about why it shouldn't be free from the point of view of Siemens or people like me, people like you. But it's probably important in each of the things we discussed to think about it from the point of view of the person on the client side who's tasked with running the project. What is it that they should not be asking for free? And why shouldn't they be asking for that?
Yeah, I mean, before we sort of get into it, maybe this concept of proof of concept versus proof of value, because I guess some people might use it interchangeably. Do you want to sort of outline what the differences are between those in this context?
Well, just as I said, so the proof of concept measures whether the concept of technology works, and the proof of value measures whether using that technology provides value, provides a return on investment. So, for example, if you think about our technology, you might say, we just want to do a proof of concept. We just want to make sure that your technology works and that it raises cases that are relevant and that it actually captures potential failures. A proof of value would say, we want to see if your solution, when it's implemented, will raise cases that when our maintenance teams act on them, help us avoid unplanned downtime, help us become better at maintenance overall, help us move towards increasing sustainability, all those good things, and that you would attribute value to the things that we achieve, so that you'd be able to say, as we did with the case today, I won't say the client is, but in the background there's a case that's come up, and it's in food and beverage, which is harder to earn your return on investment than automotive, for example, because shutdowns are not as expensive. But there's an ongoing case which has saved them $2.5 million. We certainly don't charge them $2.5 million, so there's your proof of value and proof of concept, if you like. Not at that stage, but anyway, we like to track these things as they come in. But that's the main difference. But let's get into the topic. We get this a lot, either by colleagues who think that if you build it, they will come, or if you show them success, they'll then get their checkbook out and buy something. And we get a lot from client side, where a sponsor or a project manager or somebody anybody who's been tasked with going and looking at this stuff will say, well, come and do a free proof of concept, free proof of value. That's how we work as a business. We don't buy stuff until we know it's going to work. Come and show it to us, and then when you've demonstrated that we can trust you, we'll buy. And that trust word is probably a good starting point to start the tsunami of reasons of why we say no. So when you're asking for something for free, what does that actually mean? It usually means that they don't have any money allocated, in which case it's not going to be a great project. It means that they're perhaps not in a position to be making these decisions. So they want to find some kind of proof that they can describe well, so they can go cap in hand to the business to see if they can get some funds. I don't know. It also indicates a lack of trust, because they don't necessarily believe our technology works. They don't want to back it, which means that me or someone like me hasn't done our job properly. It's a very negative way to start a relationship, because basically what they're saying is that all of the onus and commitment is on us as a business to show them something, which can often take us 2 or 3 months to do, or time and input, that the onus is on us to prove ourselves, otherwise they won't engage. And we're a big, gnarly organisation, we're Siemens. Those of us who were previously at Senseye were part of an acquisition process, and it was done for a very good reason. They did months and months of due diligence and demonstrated our technology was best of, and we had lots of growing clients. We don't need to go to companies and say, please, can we show that our technology works? We know the technology works, and we certainly don't want to spend any time on behalf of a client who might not buy from us proving yet again that the technology works. It's there. Go onto LinkedIn and go and find a user, go and have a chat, ask us for a conversation. A proof of concept is really absolutely nonsense. It sounds like such a reasonable question when a client says, we'd like to do a free proof of concept just to see that it works. But when you really think about what that means, it means they've made no effort at all to go and understand where our technology sits in the market. They haven't bothered to find anybody who's using it. They haven't bothered to ask. They haven't listened to any of these podcasts. From my point of view, there's other people we should be spending our time with who are more committed, who have more of have demonstrated more of a commitment to the shape of a project that's going to work. Before we go any further, actually, let's define what a good project is. So, a good project that works, that will give you those £2.5 million wins, starts off where you have not us cap in hand asking a client for a chance to prove ourselves, but it works off with a collaboration between us as a business and the client, where for the 4, 5, 6, 10 people involved from our side, depending on the type of project, there'll be 4, 5, 6, 10 people involved on the client side. So there'll be people from IT, people from maintenance, you want decision makers involved, you want some kind of management to be involved in steering type meetings, and you want big visibility within the organisation you're working with. So when the project starts, there should be a group of people on our side and a group of people on the client side who are both excited about getting stuck in and excited about the potential outcome. Both of who could, at the drop of a hat, open a slide deck about the project and present it to someone, either us present it to our management or them to theirs. When you have that kind of commitment in place, then everybody has a shared vision. People come to meetings, people push, people think outside the box, people do the stuff that you would do in a joint venture, and you have really successful projects and they go swimmingly and we all get excited. companies who want to do things for free often end up with an individual allocated to the project, no KPIs associated with it, suspicion from all the layers of management above them, probably indicated because we said we'd do it for free, which means we're probably worried about proving something. And the project doesn't have any things we just described, and it doesn't start off nicely. You don't have a nice big proposal document that's used to describe the project that both parties have signed off on. So it becomes very, very anemic, and it messes out of all the kind of stuff that you would want to have included in a project to make that project successful. So it ends up being us as a business, frankly, wasting our time chasing people around on the client side. And, we're all human beings. We role play constantly. You walk in a restaurant, suddenly you're a client. You speak to a waiter in a certain way, and the waiter speaks to you in a certain way. Step out of the restaurant and you don't fulfill those roles. If you walk into a project where it's for free and don't have commitment from the other side, you probably become a little bit subservient to speak in a slightly needy way. And the client who knows he's getting something for free now doesn't think there's much value to it and talks to you like a bad client, like a bad vendor. People subtly end up in these roles, and there's a kind of, I wouldn't say power struggle, but there's a dissonance in the communication. And we've seen it play out a number of times, and it's never a surprise because there's a kind of emotional logic behind it. So I'm rambling a bit, but cut it if you want to take a different direction. I'll tell you the things I thought we should cover. And by the way, when I look up to the right, it's not because I come up with this light top right or bottom left for thinking or lying. I'm actually just looking at my notes on the screen. Value perception, so we touched on that a bit. Commitment from the client, resource allocation, filtering of serious clients, scope creep, and sustainability. Something else we see with free projects is because there's lack of commitment from the client side, what happens is they never feel they've seen quite enough to take the next step. The reason they haven't seen quite enough is because we haven't run a proper project. So they'll start saying, can we just do this? Or if you could show that, or if we could just move to this other factory where they've got more of this issue, or whatever it might be. Things that, there's a terrible background noise. Is there something on your microphone?
Is it gone?
Yes, gone.
Okay. Sorry, it might have been me. Sorry.
Sorry. Then you things in a project you wouldn't, in a paid for project you wouldn't allow because you'd stay within the tram lines of what you would all agree to. It just becomes sort of vague, and you start doing things you shouldn't have done and having unstructured meetings because you just don't have the scaffolding in place on the client side. So those reasons alone, there's other things we talk about, but those reasons alone should be enough to put a client off because if you're the individual who's speaking, or one of us, group of people speaking to us as an organisation, you're rubbing your microphone again.
Don't think so.
Right, anyway. There's a mouse nesting in your desk. If you're one of that team, you don't want to waste 4 months of your life being hassled by us to talk about what's happening next in the project. You want to be able to have a successful project and know that you've invested your time well. And there's a bunch of things that don't happen in a free meeting, in a free process. You as an individual, that company won't have to go and apply for funds. You won't have to go and speak to the different departments. You probably won't have to give a presentation to management. You won't have to set something in the diary for follow-up. You won't have to be involved in deciding who's going to be in the steering committee. So your project will be unknown and unfunded and unloved, and nobody will care. And when you do start asking for things, they'll be anomalous and they'll be outside of what's been agreed for the next period of time. So when you need people from maintenance to come to meetings, they won't come because they'll think you're being irritating because it's not part of what they've been asked to do. When you go and ask for a resource from controls or from IT or from anywhere else, you'll be bottom of their list. So before you even know, you'll already be running a bad project. So I kind of feel that we don't have to go into any other aspects of it. Those reasons alone should be enough, But the core of it comes down to people not trusting what we have. If we don't trust it, then we haven't got. It's not the right start of a relationship.
Yeah, it's an interesting one though, because like you said, the technology side is certainly proven, and we've got plenty of success cases to back it up. And I think you're right. I think you said right at the beginning, it's there's a mistaken belief that if you talk about it, people will come. If you say we've had all these successes and all these things, and automatically people are like, right, where do I sign, kind of thing. But what are those not helpful? When you said we've got for example, an automotive company, great successes here. We could do something similar in yours. Why is that not a builder towards trust in a lot of cases?
Well, I think it is. It's one of a number of things. References and reference visits you have to do exactly the right time. If you do them at the beginning, they don't like anything. They don't mean anything until the context is right for somebody to hear. So typically, it's when you've got a group of people from different divisions who are trying to make a decision to start a project. That's when it's most useful for them to hear. But you're right. So when we first present, we normally start by looking at 2 or 3 use cases, and that should be enough for people to go, yeah, okay, we see that it works. Why are we not at that stage yet currently with everybody? You'd have to read the book about crossing the chasm, trying to understand where this technology sits currently and what people are prepared to invest in, and what concepts are a no-brainer that you need to buy, and what stuff is still experimental and all that stuff. So there'll be different answers for different people. But a lot, from my perspective, whenever I get somebody in the team coming and saying, "Oh, we've got this great opportunity with company X. We just need to be able to show them blah, blah, first, and then they say they'll do a project with us." That's the red flag. And there's always complicated reasons why it happens, but it's usually because it's not really a very good opportunity. It might be that there's a digital team who are worried because they know they haven't built a very good product and they want to benchmark it against something. Or there might be a very cynical group of people who want to see our technology working so they can copy it, or whatever nefarious plan they have. There might be a group who know they need to get on with something, but they've never really managed to get around to putting in for the budget for it. They've never been taken seriously, so they think that if they build it, they will come. But we know that doesn't work. So they might think, if we just get these guys in and run a project, then I've got something to show management. The people listening to might be going, what are they talking about? Why wouldn't it work? Just put it in, turn it on, it'll work, and they'll see it and they can get some budget. But here's the challenge. As we said at the beginning, it's not a piece of technology that you turn on and it whirs and you get red light flash and green light flash and somehow something's fixed. It is just, however complicated we make it, with all this incredible Gen AI stuff that we put on the front end now that makes it just next level crazy stuff, it is still a decision support tool. And if you don't make decisions based on it, and you don't walk down to the factory floor and actually do something with the information, enact change, and then change your future, then we're unable to help. So when people are testing this stuff, the only measure of it can be achieved. You can only achieve the measure of it by people doing things. So if you don't have everybody involved who'd be using the product, doing the stuff they should be doing, and taking it seriously, there's no way to measure it. It'd be like buying a load of books and putting them on a shelf and then come back a year later and saying, how were they? I don't know, no one read them. It's just books are, what are they? They're just paper and pulp. There's some ink smeared all over them until some point someone interacts with them and then something comes to life and it can affect change. It's the same with our product. It's irrelevant until you have a proper project around it. So the idea of testing, proving the concept, as I said at the beginning, is a nonsense. You're like trying to prove the concept of a mobile phone before you let anybody use one. Doesn't mean anything.
No, it feels like there's almost two layers. Yeah, no, it's like it's almost like there's 2 layers of trust here, where you've got the trust in that initial what say you've presented and others have presented to sell the product. But once the product's sold, it's almost another layer of trust, like you said, for people to actually use it and believe what it's telling them in their context, because that's been a thing as well in the past, where it's maybe alerts are being ignored or whatever, and then something does happen. So it's almost like there's that second layer of trust when you're actually using the product as well.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, and I haven't got this on the list. But if you're somebody in a maintenance team and there's a project happening to implement a predictive maintenance solution, and you're expected to use it, you're very unlikely to use it if the team who are implementing it don't trust the vendor enough to actually run a proper project and pay them for it. You're going to wait, aren't you? You're going to wait and see. You're going to wait for the project to fail, really, because why would you invest your time in something that the people running didn't have trust in? You need to be brought into something that everyone's excited about, that's done on an equal footing, two companies engaging to demonstrate success. So you're right. You need that. There needs to be trust from the people who select us in the first place, who understand that our technology is absolutely incredible, which it is, and we have lots of incredible clients who are doing very well with it. And they're excited to bring us in, and they will go and get what's needed in terms of people, resource, money, and then we'll run a project with us, and we'll do everything we can to make it a great journey for the maintenance team, so that when they go into the app, they're excited about using the stuff and acting on it. Yeah.
We talk about this quite a lot, like having a champion, or you mentioned that person there who's going to drive things internally. But I mean, how crucial is that in this sort of trust? I mean, because can one person really build that trust? Because as we know, it's a multi-stakeholder sale and lots of interested parties. Is that possible for one? I guess we're proving it now, aren't we, with various customers? But
that's a whole long topic, isn't it? So we often talked about, if you have a good sponsor, the one thing they mustn't do is become part of our team in a way. So they have to remain They have to remain on the client side. So you're convincing them all the time of stuff. So they should be presenting the issues, but in a professional way. So that the people around this department have these concerns and allow us to deal with them. So it doesn't help if they become deeply entrenched in the world of Senseye and fully understanding it, because they just face the same problem we do. They have to stay on the client side. But yeah, you need more. Ultimately, you need a sponsor to do the kind of internal presentations, find the right audiences to do the things that are needed to do to get the resource and money, etc. But yeah, you need a wave of people to come through that trust process. Indeed. One of the slides that we present quite often is with one of our clients in FMCG, where we don't like it when this happens, but in this case it worked out, where they didn't believe the cases that were being raised, and they ignored them at their peril, and they had a big failure. But it allowed us to demonstrate over 6 months things that they should have paid attention to. And there was very, very quickly an opportunity for them to follow up by demonstrating their trust. And it all worked out well. So it was kind of a neat story of conversion. But it'd be better to avoid that, right? Better to have people work on the assumption that this stuff works, rather than to demonstrate it to them with a told you so tale.
Okay, this all links together. Another area we haven't really covered is how often projects, as well as saying can we do something for free, it's always, can we do something for free on like a relatively small number of machines as well. And as we know, and hopefully people out there know as well, that we're all about scale and seeing value at scale. Does that also that also comes with trust, right? Because you're not going to trust someone with your whole plant immediately. I mean, maybe realistically, but you're not going to get value from such a small number, free or not free, I guess. But you take that out of the equation.
No, you're not. It's sort of partly that you're not going to get value, but it's also that you're not going to get learnings. That's really the main thing. You're not going to.
Yes.
If you that doing things on a small number of assets harks back to the idea that if we do this microscopic test, then we can understand everything and we can extrapolate. It doesn't work. You need lots of things onboarded. Firstly, so that it's relevant to the maintenance team. Otherwise, the maintenance team got loads of stuff to do every day. If you're an anomalous project on 5 assets, how does that help them? You need to cover a significant number of different types of things that people start to get to use it and interact with it and respond to things and give feedback. Otherwise, it's not really a trial. Paid or otherwise, it's not really a trial.
It's what you said there. It's about proving value to the people who will use the tool every day. And I guess even subconsciously, if you say something, we've got this free tool, which it is if you sort of went down that route, then it immediately loses almost credibility. Because it's like, it's just a free tool, that's nice, but I don't really need to. Because it immediately loses its credibility, right?
Yeah, I completely. I mean, I'm not sure if this is helpful for the audience, but for us, if we were told, by the way, we've been given access to another employee training platform, and it's got hundreds of thousands of courses on it and it's free, I'd feel slightly overwhelmed, and I'd wonder if there was value for me in it. And I'd think, well, I will have a look at it. I promise. But probably wouldn't. And I would feel, because it was free, that somehow it was take it or leave it. But if I was told that they just invested as a company in a training platform for employees, and we're incredibly lucky to have it because it was very, very expensive contextually, but showed very good value. Other companies, people in management who'd used it had some effect, and they got a really good return on investment. And there was 10 main courses you should focus on. I'd sign up and do them, because it tells a completely different story, doesn't it? Makes you feel. I mean, it's a no. But I back in the training world, I remember looking across our client base and looking at the score results that people gave, or the feedback that people gave out of 10 for the courses they'd attended, and there was a very, very, very strong correlation between high feedback and lack of discount. So the more people have discounted the course by, basically the less they enjoyed it. And that had nothing to do with that. I assume, like I've got a degree in psychology, but not a master's in this, right? So I don't know if this is definitely the case, but I suspect it's because if you get a heavy discount on a course, you go along, you don't take it seriously, so you don't invest your full brain. If you go along on a course that your company's paid for and they've paid full whack, then you take that thing seriously and you invest the time you need. These things aren't standalone. They need the humans to do the work, as is the case here. If they don't do the work and get stuck in and react and invest and bring us into late decisions, then we've got no value.
I think ultimately, when I guess a very important part of it, it's bringing the different stakeholders together as well. So there's a broad understanding of it. So it's not left to one person, trying to talk to people. It's like bringing them in very early on, as we've worked out over time. You bring everyone in early on and answer their questions early on, and then everyone's bought into the process. I guess in a simple.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't work out as easy as that in reality. You'll probably tell me, but that's the idea, right?
I think it does work out as easily as that. If I think of projects where we've started out properly and it's on a good footing, you go to the steering meetings, the follow-up meetings, you have all the representatives there, and everybody knows what success was going to look like. And so when you talk about those things, you've got an engaged audience and people who are wanting it to work out. And when things go wrong in a project, they all muster in and try and work out how we change course, and that works. When you've got a free project and something goes wrong, first of all, there's no way of defining it as wrong, because typically no one's really described it. Nobody's described what route you should be taking. And even if there were, there's no way of particularly changing it, because you've got that complete lack of investment of people, etc. You could argue as well that, if a company can say they're going to give you the full setup and the right project team and all the investments, etc., they're just not going to give you the money. But I've not seen that actually come to fruition.
No, So maybe that's another point. It's like those two things have to marry up. So there's a payment, for the software and the services and everything, but there's also the resources required, which maybe is. Do you think it's underestimated then, the amount of resources required for like?
I do, and I think that's a good point. And I think one of the things I had on my list is, well, why would we do it for free anyway? It costs us money to deliver. Why should we take our consultants and have them running a project when there's other people who'd be paying for it? It just doesn't make any financial sense. But I do think that. So I think that by not charging for it, people probably don't understand the investment from our side in terms of activity. And again, they undervalue it, or they don't. Basically means they don't understand it. So for me, if somebody from within the business, and we're a big business, there's a lot of people out there talking about this stuff. If somebody comes to me and says this company wants to do it for free, my first assumption is that they haven't actually explained what we're doing properly yet. So my first ask would be, can you set up a meeting so we have a conversation with the client to explain how a project works and explain all the working parts and what the outcome should be, because often that will clear up the misunderstanding or qualify them out. If I was a client, I'd want to be qualified out. I wouldn't want to get dragged into a project because I asked for it for free and then discover that, as I said before, that I wasted my own time. So we need to be opaque about that, don't we?
Yeah. No, exactly. And like I said, it's to the benefit of both sides as well. So there's no point bringing even if we agree to do it for free, we know that it's I'll say more than likely it will fail anyway for all the reasons we've discussed today. So it'd be a waste of their time to do it for free. That's, I guess, what needs to come across sometimes. It's, we're not, you're a salesperson and we're here to, obviously make money realistically, but yeah, it's, there's got to be some sort of value there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel
like that kind of covers it.
I think it does. It's it's a really interesting topic. It's a completely different type of episode to what we've done usually now. I actually call you now my co-host on these because I do much less talking, but I do a lot more listening. But it's really good to hear sometimes a bit more directly from someone like yourself who's talking to customers every day. So it's a really useful exercise. But I guess let's just finish on one more sort of point, I guess, around this topic. So if someone's interested in deploying predictive maintenance and they're trying to get buy-in internally, and there's a big push for let's do it, all right, we'll do it, but let's do it for free, and you could go off yourself and manage it and go off on your own. I mean, what advice would you sort of give to someone to sort of try and navigate that? I mean, maybe sometimes minds can't be changed, but is there anything you could offer advice-wise on that?
I think, so if you're talking about someone who would make the sponsor on the client side, they've been told, yes, go and do this. Yeah. If they said no. And my advice to them is, if you find a company who will do it for free, don't. Because even if they're good, the project won't work. You need to go through the process of getting us set up as a vendor. You need to go through the process of getting us in people's hearts and minds, etc. Talk them through that process, advise them on it, and explain the logic. And if there's pushback then it's probably not worth us going after.
Yeah, or then pursuing with any vendor, I guess, like you said, it's not a Siemens thing. It's predictive maintenance as a whole. If we talk about it as an industry, you won't find success if someone says they do it for free. Then it's very likely you're not going to find the success that you're looking for. Because I don't think one thing we maybe haven't mentioned, expectations, I'm guessing, probably don't change much, whether it's even when it's free, there's still significant expectations on what will happen, I guess, as well. Obviously, I guess you're spending money.
Yeah, there's more. I think there's more expectation when it's free.
Yeah, that was my feeling. But
I think when something's free, you've got less people attending. Yeah, and so I think we've got a slight delay. But I think, if it's for free, people expect the world. And if you can't prove it, then you must have been lying on your marketing literature. But the reason you can't prove it is because you don't have the right setup or the right people, the right project. When it's paid for, you work collaboratively as a group to establish what the outcomes are you're going to try and measure, and you do it with smiles on your faces and sort problems out as they happen. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a good way to finish, because I tend to do this a lot when I say final question, then ask like 3 more questions. So I'll resist temptation to go into. I think, like you said, we've covered it very well. But yeah, so I guess bring it to a close. Thank you, Nat, for taking us through that. Hopefully, it's an interesting topic for you all. Like I said, it's slightly different to what we usually talk about. But like I said, I think that's actually a positive thing. So we're not just covering the same topics again and again. You get sort of a deeper view into the market, I like to say. But yeah, so thank you, Nat, for taking part. We'll invite you on again very soon. Won't leave it so long. And thank you to everyone out there for listening, and see you on the next episode. Thank you.
Bye.
Please like and subscribe on all major podcast channels, and find out more about Senseye Predictive Maintenance at Siemens.com.